Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
The At Home With segment of CBS This Morning is sponsored by Sominex. Sominex helps you fall asleep gently. Sleep safe, sweet dreams, good night.
Halloween is just a few days away. And to get in the mood, this Friday we visited home with an actor who starred in one of the scariest movies ever made. His career has spanned more than 3 decades and includes nearly 100 screen and stage roles, but he will probably be best remembered as the part-time taxidermist and full-time madman in the Hitchcock classic Psycho. We spend this morning at home in Hollywood with Anthony Perkins. Honors came early. In 1956, in his only second movie, Friendly Persuasion, he got an Oscar nomination. A year later, in his second role on Broadway, he won a Tony Award. And 20 years later, he was still drawing rave reviews from theater critics for the drama Equus. Among his 41 movie roles, Perkins has played a doomed Australian Navy lieutenant in a world devastated by nuclear war, the enthusiastic but ineffective chaplain Tapman in Catch-22,
Sergeant Towser speaking.
and the victim's secretary in the murderous world of Agatha Christie.
Or someone, until a couple of weeks ago. Well,
But rarely do actor, role, and film merge as memorably as they did in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. To millions of us, Anthony Perkins is still Norman Bates and still scary.
And over there.
The bathroom.
Yeah.
Home for Anthony Perkins and his family is secluded. It includes a display of family photos and a long hallway that runs almost the entire length of the house. And that's where he's invited us this morning. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
fine, thanks.
What is that scary jack-o'-lantern-looking thing about to your right in the front of the hallway? You don't wear that around the house, do you?
No, not really. You know, I was listening to your introduction and hearing you refer to Norman Bates as full-time madman, but I think one of the charms of that character and one of the reasons that it's endured through a couple of sequels is actually he's such a schizophrenic personality and has his nice side, and his agreeable side, and his friendly side as well.
Do you have to go over and over again in your head, who is Norman Bates and why did he command such attention from the public?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons, actually, that he's not really a villain. He's someone who really tries hard to rise above his circumstances and live a productive and a socially acceptable life. It's his other side. It's his dark side, and I think a lot of people can connect with that and feel that perhaps they have a little of Norman Bates in them too.
Well, the house you're in right now surely doesn't look like the Bates Motel.
It doesn't, I agree.
It's lovely. I'm so surprised. Are you somewhat of a displaced New Yorker? So surprised to see you in a Spanish, kind of a Mexican house in Southern California.
I don't feel like a displaced New Yorker, really. Having moved around so much in my career and in my life, I'm pretty set wherever I am. I've done a lot of location work. You know, these days, especially actors have to be used to getting up and packing a suitcase and going to, for instance, I just spent 8 weeks in Hungary, in Budapest. Now, to some people that might turn out to be a difficult experience or a place they would be chafing to get out of, but I just found a way of settling in and giving myself a day-to-day life, a working life in Budapest, and it is a depressed economy, and the people there are sometimes a little bit more serious than we think of ordinary people as being, but I just managed to make it part of my life. It didn't bother me. So I don't really feel displaced from New York. I think if we moved back to New York, I wouldn't feel displaced from here either.
Can you show me a little bit of your home?
Sure.
This is the long hallway, and it goes into kind of a continuous space where I think someone is waiting for us, in fact.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
It's nice and open, airy feeling, isn't it? Is that why you bought the house?
Yes, it is. It's one of the reasons we did. And one of the things we definitely want, here's a beautiful shot of my wife, actually, who's waiting for us right here. We wanted a big living room that would be the most useful room in the house, and not just be a room that was set apart for entertaining and doing things that were more formal than living might be.
Barry Berenson Perkins. Thank you for joining us, Barry.
Hi, how
How are you? Good. You are so well known as a photographer, but it has always surprised me, considering that your grandmother was such a well-known fashion designer, Elsa Schiaparelli, that you decided to go into photography and not model.
I was actually pretty unattractive as a teenager. It just never occurred to me to model. It was not... What?
When did you decide to become a photographer?
I guess when I was about 19 or 20. After I had left school, I basically had to find something to do because we went to English boarding schools and they didn't teach you much of anything except sewing and cooking. So we didn't know much how to do anything, and I didn't go to college. So my sister and I basically had to go out and find something to do, and Mariza chose the modeling, and I chose the photography.
Still, it's a little hard to imagine her as an unglamorous and unattractive teenager, isn't it?
Well, the two of you were somewhat one of the most celebrated couples, I guess, in the 70s. You were much younger than your husband, weren't you, at the time,
Yeah.
Barry?
I still am.
That was
But, Tony, you were kind of well known to be ensconced in bachelorhood.
Exactly. But surprising things can happen to anyone in life.
Well, so what was it? You have had about, what, 15 years now to look back and figure out what it was that put you two together?
Exactly. And I still really haven't figured it out. It's funny, Barry took a picture of me when we first met. She was on an assignment for Interview magazine, and she came down to my house in Chelsea and took a few pictures. And in one of the pictures, which she might show you, I've got this quizzical look, this mysterious kind of a half smile and half serious. It's like, what is happening to me? Who is this girl that's just run into my life? How did all this happen? I can see that expression on my face quite clearly. I don't know whether the camera picks it up. It's definitely one of mystery.
Barry, is it true that your children already are 14 and 12 years old? Not really children.
Can you believe that? Well, we can't believe it. We look at them and we think, I don't know how this happened so quickly. It's just not possible.
And even when you look at pictures taken of them every year, you say, well, look, here they were 2, here they were 3, here they were 4, but where is the process? Where is the growing up process best illustrated? It isn't illustrated. It's invisible. It happens in spite of the fact that you may wish it to slow down.
Well, we're going to continue our visit with you in just a moment. We're going to go away for a commercial with you, Anthony Perkins, your wife, Barry Berenson. And we will return to California in just a moment. And we return now to our pre-Halloween visit with the actor who, for many years, made people afraid to go into the shower, the star of Hitchcock's masterpiece of fright, Psycho, Anthony Perkins. Anthony, you have that grimace look. Boy, I'll never be able to get rid of Norman Bates.
But you know it's okay. It's only not okay, or it only wouldn't be all right if I had a resistance to that identification. But so long as it doesn't rub off on me, on my own real personality, it doesn't matter.
You know, as I watched you this morning, you seem more at ease in this house than most people do in their homes. You kind of couch yourself against the wall and you kind of curl up inside of it, don't you?
One reason...
Take me into the dining room if you can.
One reason is that people have such a pre-worked out idea of me that I do resemble some of my roles. And I know I go to some pains, some length to try to illustrate, to show a different side of me, that I'm a family guy with a beautiful young wife and 2 teenage kids, something that I guess Norman Bates would never have.
Are you in the dining room area of your house?
Yeah.
You just left Barry in the living room.
Yes.
And again, is this... You're apparently a very tall man. Is that true? How tall are you?
I'm about I'm almost 6'3".
And you feel very comfortable in some of the old Spanish-style houses?
Yeah, they built them tall. When we had our house in New York, even though it wasn't cramped, the ceilings always did feel a little bit close to my head.
If you could sit down at the dining room table, I want to talk to you a little bit about acting and apparently directing. Is it true that you may direct Psycho 4?
The whole thing about directing is it's not exactly like an acting job where you can say, well, look, I'll make the best of this. I'll throw my entire soul and energy into this and do it the very, very best I can, which, of course, is the only way to accept any kind of a job, especially if it's got some creativeness to it. But if you're going to direct a movie, it has to be something that you can't not do. I remember when I first read the script of Psycho 3, I put the last page down and I said, I have to direct this. This is necessary. And I think I've directed another film, actually, since then, and I felt the same way about that. And you have an obligation to the material. You have an obligation to the actors you're going to be working with. You have an obligation to the people who are supplying the X number of millions of dollars. You just have to be in love with it, passionately in love with it. You have to have a need to illustrate this material and to find a way to make it entertaining and meaningful. So if I read the script of Psycho 4 and I really like it and I really find things in it that I would like to dramatize and bring to a mass audience, a world audience, well, then I will put in my bid to direct it.
Do you feel you have an obligation to Alfred Hitchcock?
Oh, definitely. You know, there's not that many people left who are still kind of carrying the torch, the Psycho torch, as it were. And there's a great deal of kind of business-like the commercialization of the topic, which is very, very easy. There's easy dollars there for the studios and for people who want to do games and videos and one thing and another. You have to be very, very careful that you remember the respect and dignity that the original had, and that hopefully the sequels have had so far. And that you keep a level head and you say, look, is this worth it? Is this a story that needs to be told?
Do you feel that if you do Psycho again, that it has to be reasonable? Someone said the word reasonable to you. What did that mean?
Well, that was a criticism, actually. I thought it was the shortest criticisms are always the best because they're the easiest to take, you know, and the easiest to remember. And a good friend of mine found that the first sequel of Psycho was too reasonable, and I thought that was an excellent observation. It wasn't crazy enough. It wasn't psycho enough. And the first Psycho it's an unreasonable story, and obviously, if you're going to, incidentally, when you said do Psycho again, well, that's something we wouldn't want to do. We wouldn't want to walk in the same footsteps if possible. The trouble with some remakes, and actually I think it was one of the problems with this second remake, that's Psycho 3, it was too much like. It was almost like the first one. If we find a way to do a fourth Psycho film, we will try to find a way not to repeat ourselves.
There are so many horror films out there now. There's Friday the 13th, probably the 13th Friday the 13th.
Yeah, exactly.
How does Psycho, or New Hope, Psycho distinguishes itself among the realm of horror films?
It'll distinguish itself, hopefully, in that the violence and the antisocial behavior in it is associated with the story, and that it's not just put there for movie reasons, for distributor reasons, for keeping them awake reasons. There's so much violence in films today goes unnoticed by the audience. They take a passive view of it, and the danger of that is when they then see violence on television, on the news, they can also have a passive reaction towards it. And I think that filmmakers who are going to deal with violence and with antisocial behavior have an obligation to have it be startling and having it be a part of the story, having it be shocking enough so that when we see the real thing, we're also shocked.
Psycho for Tony Perkins reasons. And Tony, thank you so much for joining us this morning and letting us into your house. And please thank Barry as well.
I will. Thanks.